All right, fellas, it's time to introduce our friends from Pittsburgh again in Steelers Chalk Talk. We got our friends Tank and Mike McMahon ready to dissect everything of relevance from the Steelers-Lions game, talk a little training camp tidbits, and see maybe what's heading down the cut pipeline for tomorrow. So thanks for joining us, fellas.
I thought this was pottery and kitten talk with Andy.
Longaberger Backfield 101.
We can talk Steelers, too. I love kittens. Mike handles pottery, but we'll talk Steelers, all right.
I thought I saw him as Patrick Swayze's stunt double in the movie Ghost with Demi Moore back in the day.
That was Point Break. Not Ghost.
Hey, that Point Break is way better than the remake they did a few years ago, let me tell you.
I completely agree.
Mike has a theory that I'm Gary Busey and he's Johnny Utah.
He is Gary Busey. If you ever look at him, he dresses like him, too.
Yeah, he kind of talks like a guy who rides a motorcycle and wrecks without a helmet into a curb, too.
Yeah, I did that in the Army, but that's a whole nother bottle of wild turkey ago.
All right, so all kidding aside, I mean, I'm assuming probably the first half of that football game you guys were pleasantly surprised with a lot of the Steelers play. So let's dig right in. And what did you like on the offensive side of the ball, and where did you see some struggles?
Well, for me, I actually liked everything on the offensive side of the ball except for Eric Ebron. I was pleasantly surprised with Freiermuth. I thought he did a great job. He did a good job blocking, made some great catches, showed great body control, and Ben was putting some nice heat on the ball down the red zone and putting it in spots where only his receiver could catch it.
Not that one he threw out to Deontay Johnson, right? He threw that noodle lollipop that I think probably might have been intercepted in the regular season, don't you think?
Well, I don't know because it depends on the safety. If he got lost, it seemed like he got lost, and Deontay Johnson made a nice adjustment. But actually, he did lob it up there, and you could tell he didn't put everything he had into that throw. But the one thing I did like what Ben did on that one was throw the ball on time. You didn't see him hitching and in the pocket with his feet so much as he's done in the past. He just went 1, 2, 3, one hitch, throw, put it out there, and let his receiver make a play. But again, I think Freiermuth was a really eye-opening thing, and you saw some drops on Eric Ebron. But the thing what really surprised me about Ebron was how bad of the blocking was. I think when the two negative runs that Najee Harris had, Ebron was in the backfield, and he could not steal the edge. He's way too light. And if he doesn't pick it up, I could see him almost not even making the team. But the other one I liked was Kalen Ballage. Again, you saw Najee Harris. You saw how explosive he is when he runs the ball. His vision, his cuts, his power, and then coming out of the backfield and being able to catch the ball. He is going to be a full 3-down back. But when Kalen Ballage comes in the game, they really don't lose much. He can push the pile. He's a little bit 1-2 cut guy and then gets downhill. He's a north and south runner, and he's big. He's 6'2", 230. When McFarland came in, he's only 190 pounds, McFarland, and he's 5'9". So I like his quickness, but I didn't really see any strength trying to break tackles. He's got to make guys miss, and I was pleasantly surprised with Jalen Samuels at the end of the game. But to me, the loser on the offense was Eric Ebron. He's got to pick it up or he could be out.
I don't think they'll cut into you. I mean, he has too much tantalizing ability. But, yeah, it looked like he lathered himself in Crisco for that first series and that pass when Ben did that fabulous scrambling job. And then, of course, it plopped right through his big old belly.
Yeah, he had a few drops. And then also even with Mason Rudolph in there. Now, I was really impressed with Mason Rudolph's game. He had one bad decision in the red zone that should have been intercepted. But for the most part, I thought he played a really solid game and managed it well and had control of the offense. I still like Mason Rudolph as the number 2 right now, and I still think they'll keep Dwayne Haskins as the number 3 just because they can kind of develop him, keep him in the offense, let him learn a little bit more. But again, if Ben goes down, they're going to need Mason in there right now. I just don't think Dwayne – I definitely see the explosiveness with Dwayne's arm and his mobility and being able to move and make guys miss. But I also can see he still hasn't been able to reel in some of the decision making and just play smart football.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw from the Steelers' mindset, no matter what the public tried to create with a backup quarterback controversy, they're pretty much dead set in Mason being the number 2. Like, he would have had to have some kind of egregious error or bad play to allow him to slip to the number 3. I mean, being the fact that, Haskins didn't get much playing time at all. So I think that pecking order has pretty much been set. I did want to note, I thought, Ballage kind of reminded me of D'Angelo Williams when the Steelers had it back there in the backfield. What do you think of that?
Good. That was a while back for me, but I like Kalen Ballage. I liked him the past 2 years. He was with Miami briefly. He was with the Jets. He was with the LA Chargers last year. And I like his running style. And he's never really been the clear-cut starter for a team. But anytime a guy gets injured, he always comes in and produces. And so for whatever reason, maybe he doesn't have the explosive speed, the breakaway speed that some guys have. But I do like his just little 1-2 cut. He makes a decision and just goes downhill. He doesn't hesitate too much. I saw McFarland hesitating a little bit, trying to pick and choose his little holes. But again, if you get Najee Harris in the game, he needs a breather. Or if you want to go a little bit of a heavy package, you saw Derek Watt in a couple games on the offensive side, throwing a few blocks. He was lined up in the bunch set, also lined up in fullback. I think you can get a little heavy package and come downhill, and that would be a tough tandem to stop. Were you surprised that Benny Snell didn't play after practicing all week? Because they said he looked pretty fast and pretty healthy in practice this week, so I'm surprised that he was inactive then on game night. I am surprised he didn't play, but I'm not sure. To me, he's the odd man out right now. Would you cut him and keep Jalen Samuels? I would. I actually thought Jalen Samuels looked the third best over McFarland. I think McFarland has some ability, especially coming out of the backfield catching the football, but I thought Jalen Samuels looked extremely well and looked much faster in this past game than he has in the past year. But again, Detroit didn't play any starters on offense or defense, really. I mean, they had a few of the receivers in there, but the Steelers basically dominated both sides, actually all three sides of the football, except for Detroit's punter. That kid can bomb it, but other than that, the Pittsburgh looked great. And but they were going up against Detroit's primary second team offense and defense. Let's talk offensive line. What do you think of the Steelers' performance there? Randy, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'm going to take this one. First of all, you missed the Hall of Fame elephant in the room. Ben Roethlisberger looked great, so all those Yunzers out there that were saying, he's done, guess what? He's got the arm. He's back. I love this Matt Canada offense. That's the positive. On the negative side, you better find a left tackle real quick, or Ben Roethlisberger's not going to be with you. Chooks Okafor, man, was getting pushed around, driven back, beat from the Lions. They've got to find a blindside tackle now, or Ben's going to be hurt. Do you think badly. Dan Moore could morph into that, or way too early to put that kind of pressure on that kid? No, he's been doing great, but he is a rookie. They've been flipping him down at training camp from left side to right side to left side. He's athletic. He's smart. However, he's a rookie. They've got $18 million in the salary cap right now because Kevin Colbert is an absolute genius. We can talk about that in a whole other segment, the numbers and the trades he made. In my opinion, they've got to find a left tackle blindside now because you're going to have guys coming at Chooks Okafor, little guy out of Chicago with the Bears called Khalil Mack, Cleveland Clowns, Javion Clowney. And that other knucklehead.
Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett.
And you got Bud Dupree. You got Jerry Hughes the first week up with Buffalo. I mean, even the Detroit Lions have Trev Flowers, who's a pretty solid. I mean, they've got to find that's what I saw. I mean, the old thing with the offensive linemen, if you remember when Craig Wolfley and Punch, God bless him, they taught the punch block. Chooks Okafor wasn't punching at all. He was just getting driven back. His arms were collapsing into him. He almost got pushed into Ben twice. The play where Ben Roethlisberger looked like the Ben Roethlisberger from 2007 when he scrambled around a little bit. That's because Chooks got blown back into him. That's the positive I saw. Ben looked great. I love the Matt Canada scheme, but I saw a problem at that left tackle side, Andy.
Yeah, Zach and me were talking this morning that it was nice to see a healthy Ben have a little bit of zip and gusto scrambling around, but we were talking about that what you see in week 1 probably you won't see in week 8 versus week 15 because that's where the beatdown starts to take place on him. So this whole cause and effect thing, you're right, Tank, is that if the line doesn't protect him, Ben's not going to be able to do that in week 4 or 5. He's going to take those hits to the lower extremities, and it's gonna limit his mobility, which is then going to limit the success of the offense, in my opinion.
Well, Mike and I have talked before, and I'm going to throw this to Mike. One of the things that makes a good offensive coordinator is that after the first 4 weeks, you see what's going right for you, what tools you have, what's going wrong for you. You make adjustments, and by the end of the season, you're peaking because you've evaluated your talent and you've been smart enough as an offensive coordinator to use your best attributes, as opposed to Randy Fichtner continuing with the same game plan and Todd, I'm an idiot, Haley, with pitching the ball back with 1 inch to go. Did you
hear Charlie Batch on the local broadcast like fawning over Randy Fichtner? And I was surprised.
I did.
You know, and I'm sure that he's a nice guy and everything, but I thought Charlie went over and above to sing the praises of Fichtner and said he saw him at the Hall of Fame and that he's one of the smartest guys as an offensive coordinator because, you know, the public perception and the layman view is that he wasn't very great at adjusting to this role as an NFL offensive coordinator for the Steelers.
Well, like what Randy said is Canada's going to start off and he's going to have a couple different packages. You saw a bunch of different formation sets, and this is all in the preseason. But once the season starts, you're going to see some things going back and forth. And then after the first 3-4 games, you'll start to see how the offense starts to emerge a little bit more, and you'll see what type of identity they have. The Steelers haven't had an identity in their offense for years now. And you look at the way the Patriots were when Brady was there, you know, they were going to run heavy personnel, 21 personnel, split Gronkowski out. You knew they were going to do a lot of play action pass, and kind of the way the Buccaneers have done that recently. You know, the Chiefs, they've got guys in motion all with different ways, and you know, Patrick Mahomes, he's like a Ferrari just airing it out that field. But different teams have an identity. And Pittsburgh last year, they just haven't. There's just a short pass here. To me, it looked like recess football or flag football where everyone, you know, 3rd and 1 and the quarterback's in the shotgun and the defensive linemen know what's coming. You actually help them. They don't have to play the run. And so therefore the pass rush can just get after you. I think with the play calling, Matt Canada can help out the offensive line just by mixing up the formations, moving the pocket a little bit. You don't need Ben out there running around. You want Ben to get the ball out of his hand quick, but you utilize some play action pass. You saw a couple of times Ben faked it to Najee Harris and then actually ended up throwing it to him in the flat after you faked it. That was one of the big things when I played. You'd be surprised how many times you do a fake handoff to the running back, and as soon as they realize that running back's not getting the ball, the linebackers buzz and get out of there, and then you just turn around and throw it right back to him because the linebackers just dropped them. They're like, oh, well, he's not getting the ball. I got to get to my pass coverage. So little things like that can help the offensive line. All the what Matt Canada is doing right now, and you'll see as the season starts to progress through the first few games, you'll see an identity start to come out, and you'll see them start to lean. All right, we're going to lean on the run a little bit more. We're going to utilize some more play action pass. You still see them coming out and doing some shotgun stuff, bunch stuff, 3-4 wide receivers. Actually, the first play of each game was the exact same play. It was just why stick spacing. And both times, it's just an easy completion for the quarterback. You got the tight end going up to 5 yards, turning out and just sitting it down. And it's an easy completion. So I think they're not really trying to they're showing some stuff, but I think you'll really see it open up once the season starts.
Hey, speaking of tight end, what about that kid out of Penn State, Fryer Tuck and Go? I think they got a new Fryer Tuck and Go, Fryermuth, man. All hail the Nittany Lions, man. I love this kid.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of the days of the Heath Miller and the Jeremy Tooman and the big tight end, rumbling, bumbling over the middle. And he can move a little bit, but the thing that was impressive to me was how he was able to catch the ball with his hands, Ben can put some heat on it in the end zone, get it up high where only he can catch it, and then his body control. Body control for a big man is very difficult. Ben threw that back shoulder pad throw, and you saw him able to jump up, turn, and make that catch. That was really impressive to me. And it actually reminded me a little bit of a George Kittle type tight end. I was pleasantly surprised.
Well, I know they said that he's more than willing to address the blocking issues and take that on wholeheartedly, which we know he's never going to be able to run free and just catch passes like some of the other flamboyant tight ends get to do across the league. So if he can mold himself into a Heath Miller mold, I think that would be more than acceptable to all the fans in Steeler Nation.
He's got a little crazy look in his eye, too, I like. You know, I like my tight ends.
These are Randy's intangibles.
Yeah.
The crazy look in the eye.
Well, I like tight ends who think they're actually offensive linemen. You know what I mean? And Friar Tuck and Go has that look about him where Ebron doesn't. Right. I like those tight ends that'll say, you know what, I'm willing to go snot knocking and hit an inside linebacker to let them know I'm here. I like, and some of those Matt Canada formations, guys, have been missing in Pittsburgh for 6 years. They had the guards moving. They had the tight ends coming in on a couple traps. I mean, just some really nice movement with that offensive line and what Matt Canada did with them. And again, not only did I see that Friar Tuck and Go has the hands, but he's got that I want to hit somebody mentality, which for me, in a tight end, you absolutely have to have.
Well, let's flip phases here and talk about the defense. Before we start about the game performances, give me your thoughts on the addition of Joe Schobert. I think it's a quality addition. I mean, I think the Jags supposedly let him go because they were looking for more of a run thumper in the inside, and he really isn't that, but he does excel at pass coverage. And I thought, I saw enough of him to make me feel like that was a great addition. We saw Spillane get torched a couple times again early on, so I think that Spillane's playing time will be greatly reduced with Schobert there. And do you guys think there was any merit to see anything that they see less of Bush being ready, that they took the green dot and gave it to Schobert, or do you think they just want Bush to play fast and not worry about getting the defense in position?
Yeah, I think with Bush it's just a matter of let him go hunting. Let him go head hunting. And Joe Schobert is a veteran. So you give him the green dot, you let the Predator, Mr. Bush there, get his feet underneath him and get going. In regards to Joe the Shark Schobert, I liked him from what I saw in camp. Like 2 days in, Andy, when I was down at camp, it was an easy transition for him. It was like he read the playbook once and said, I got it, don't worry.
Well, he's been a veteran and he's played in multiple systems. So, and switching defenses is far easier than switching offenses. But like you said, he is the veteran. And I think, Randy, last year down at camp, last year and the year before with Devin Bush, you were able to, he talk about a crazy look in his eye. That guy's got the crazy look in his eye. And I think Joe Schobert, probably being the veteran, just has maybe a little bit more headiness to him. That's why they probably gave him the green dot. They make the calls and let Devin Bush unleash him. He's like the Tasmanian devil. He's just going to run around. He's going to hit guys. And I think Joe Schobert's going to be a little bit more methodical in his thinking.
And you got the situation with the tight ends. I mean, it is apparent when you take a Gronkowski tight end or a George Kittle tight end and you match them up with Devin Bush, Bush is going to be on him speed-wise, but the height-wise is a problem for him, and teams could exploit that if he's the only one out there. With Schobert, he's a little bit taller, but he's also a little bit quicker. So I think it's a smart move. One, I think Kevin Colbert once again proves that he is a genius. I mean, these moves he's made with Ingram and Schobert are just unbelievable. And suddenly to have $18 million. And again, the cap, because of COVID, I think went down to like $187 million this year. And teams were crying, going, how in the world are we going to be able to put a team together? Kevin Colbert has proven himself to be a genius and might be the reason this team keeps contending year after year after year, because they go find people like DeCastro and A.B. Brown and Devin Bushes. And I just can't say enough right now with Kevin Colbert's job. And I think this team is going to shock a lot of people. Well, Andy, I know you hear it with your shows all the time. I mean, they're predicting them to be fourth in our division. I think they're going to shock some people this year.
Well, I mean, everybody looks at that strength of schedule, but I'm going to temper your fawning praise and adulation for Kevin Colbert, because I think when you have a GM that's only won 3 playoff games in 10 years with that roster they had, there are some other flaws there. So I give you the credit and the due that he has made some shrewd moves. But if the standard is the standard, to quote the most elegant head coach we've ever had, then that standard has not been met in Pittsburgh. So how great a job has the GM done? Now, I know he's not playing and he's not coaching, but he certainly is a part of this process that led them, in my opinion, woefully short in the number of playoff games they should have won in the last 10 years. So I got your opinion on that. What do you think, Mike?
I'm going to throw it to Mike. You peeled the onion back on Mike and I talk all the time. You go ahead and do it, Mike.
Well, I think the roster has been great. And honestly, everyone talks about how, great Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin is an incredible motivator, and he gets the guys fired up to play on certain games and certain times.
Yeah, not to play a game against the Browns, though, huh?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, there were a couple of years ago when they were looking ahead to the Patriots and got beat by the Jags. So the roster has been set, and to me, I'm not singing the praises as much as some other guys do from Mike Tomlin, as far as, to me, they have been the most underachieving team roster-wise. I mean, the roster's set. The talent is there, but they just can't seem to do it in the playoffs. And to me, I don't think that's a GM issue. I think it's more of a coaching issue. You look at issues in the playoffs a couple years ago. Todd Haley got into a bar fight with his wife and stuff out during the playoffs. Joey Porter gets arrested during the playoffs as a coach. And to
Jeff
me,
Brown beats up a newspaper thing in the store afterwards. Remember that story? That was great.
Yeah, well, to me, it starts with the coaching staff. So if you're in the playoffs, what kind of example? You have, it's sudden death at this point. This could be your last week playing football. So why are you going out on a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Friday night drinking at a bar and putting yourself in that situation when you're the coach supposed to be setting the example? It's not that hard to sit at home and maybe watch a couple extra film, or just go home and relax that night and get ready for the game. I mean, look, if you lose, you're going to be out there next week. So don't worry about that. And so to me, that's a little bit of you saw some of the assistant coaches and Coach Tomlin, he's an incredible motivator, but again, he's hired Keith Butler and Randy Fichtner, guys that he's been extremely faithful to, some of the coaches that he's had in the past, and he's brought in his own guys. He hired Joey Porter, but you look at a lot of coaches around the league, and you look at the Andy Reid. Andy Reid has a coaching tree. Bill Belichick has a coaching tree. Heck, even Sean McVay has a coaching tree now. But Mike Tomlin does not have a coaching tree. He's not developing coaches where they're going on and becoming head coaches around the league. And he hasn't done it once. And so he came in, he inherited a staff with Bruce Arians as the offensive coordinator and Dick LeBeau as the defense coordinator. And I was with Coach Tomlin in Minnesota, and he ran a 4-3 Tampa 2 defense. So you hired Mike Tomlin to come in, and they had Dick LeBeau with Troy Polamalu, and everyone was set. They had the veterans, and they won a Super Bowl. But to me, he was the face of the franchise, but really it was Cowher's Super Bowl was the hangover. You had LeBeau running a 3-4 Blitzburg, all these exotic defenses, and Mike Tomlin was a 4-3 Tampa 2 guy. So as eventually you saw the staff start to evolve, and he brought in Keith Butler, coach the linebackers, learned under LeBeau. He brought in Randy Fichtner to coach the quarterbacks, to learn under Bruce Arians and then Todd Haley. And you saw what happened, and he promoted his guys within, but they haven't been able to win. He fired Arians. Arians wins the Super Bowl. He fires LeBeau. It's just, to me, it's been the most underachieving, talented roster in the National Football League. And again, everyone's going to talk about, he's had so many consecutive winning seasons, but no one cares if you're not winning. Who cares if you're winning the games in the season. You got to win the last game of the year. That's where it matters. And
right.
you're not able to do that.
He's been swooning in December for a few years now, and I'm rolling in that same boat with you, brother, that I've never been as high on him as other people. Not as low as other people, but I would admit, if I'm the owners of the Steelers, I think sometimes they're too married to that storyline of not having a laundry list of turning over head coaches. I don't think you keep continuity just for the sake of bragging rights to say you only had 3 coaches over 50 or 60 years. I probably would have made a change, and I definitely wouldn't have extended Mike Tomlin this year. I would have waited to see how the season played out before I gave him an extension, but all that's going to play itself out. How did you guys feel about the defensive backfield? Because I saw James Pierre looking a little suspect again, and I'm not sure they got that settled. And even Cam Sutton is worrying me a little bit, so I'm not sure that, that Swiss Army knife mentality that they had for Cam Sutton is going to bode well. Is he going to end up being back down in the slot now because they can't trust him on the outside?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I really couldn't tell much on the defense this past week because, again, to me, you were facing a bunch of Detroit's backups. Sutton, he played some decent zone. He made some decent tackles when he needed to. But as far as man coverage, I wasn't able to get a chance enough to look at him. I thought Marcus Allen did a decent job coming in and playing. He kind of played that hybrid safety linebacker role. But again, to me, that was a very tough game to judge the defense just because of all the Detroit backups in there. I thought Melvin Ingram looked good. Again, he's going up against the backups. The other one that I thought that was Loudmilk. I thought he did Loudermilk. I thought he did a great job for the Steelers. He's 6'7". He was able to push the offensive lineman back in the second half. He was hustling. He missed a couple tackles on the quarterback, but he got back up and chased down the quarterback and made the play. So I think they have some depth on the D-line, and I think the linebackers core is starting to round out. And, again, as long as if T.J. Watt, Melvin Ingram, and Highsmith or Hightower get to the quarterback, that's going to make it much easier for the defense, the secondary. So I think it's going to depend on how well that defensive front does, and you'll be able to see if that defensive secondary is good or not if they're not getting to the quarterback. Because if they're not getting to the quarterback, then you might see some guys getting exposed. But you can always cover that weakness up with a good pass rush.
Have you guys heard any word yet on Tuitt's injury? Like, they haven't leaked anything about why he's not practicing.
Nothing. As I said before, I mean, he doesn't look good. Just standing there. He looks overweight and slow. The times I've seen him, he's just been with T.J. Watt, but I haven't heard anything. And again, the untimely passing of his brother, nobody can calculate those things.
I think that's what they're talking about is the passing of the brother and just trying to be a little bit more sensitive to that issue and let him take his time with that. But they're going to need him to step up big once the season starts.
The other thing, too, guys, don't forget, at nickel, both Antonio Brooks and Arthur Millette are injured. So now, all of a sudden, at nickel, they're scrambling to move some people around. So you have that issue. The one thing, you brought up another Penn Stater, Mike, Marcus Allen. He's just too small for that inside linebacker position. He's 215 soaking wet in his uniform. I would love to see them put their thinking caps on and put him back into the safety position. And I think he's both strong and weak safety. He's fine and replaceable. He likes to hit people.
Yeah, he does like to hit. He's
maybe that's playing for next year, but Edmonds not coming back.
Use him correctly. It would be a waste of talent to leave him rot away at inside linebacker. The other person that's really sticking out to me on special teams and the other preseason game, and they've got him at outside linebacker, and I'd move him inside, is Jameer Jones. I like this kid. He's got some movement. He likes to hit people. We're good at outside linebacker. Now, I'll throw it back to what Mike said about good coaching decisions with this staff. They don't always have that kind of prescient ability. So I don't think Marcus Allen will get moved or Jameer Jones, but it's what I would do. But going to that nickel position, that they've got to find somebody that they can count in, week out, when that nickel's called. And right now there's nobody. And again, there's still $18 million in cap space. What do you do? Maybe you go to a team that's not going to be a contender this year and say, hey, we want your offensive left tackle and we want your nickel back. What do you want from us?
Yeah, originally I thought maybe there was a point where they would try to move James Washington to try to enhance that deal for alignment, but I'm not sure how that's going to play out now. Who do you guys see on the cut list tomorrow for the 5? Where are they going to drop 5 more?
I potentially see Trey Edmonds. I know he's a special teams guy, and I know they try to use him at the fullback spot a little bit, but I see him out. I actually could see Benny Snell out. And I could see that happening. The reason why they possibly didn't play him was, hey, look, let's not get him out there. If he gets hurt, now we're forced to keep him. So a lot of times teams in the preseason will keep a guy off the field and be like, all right, you know what? He just came back from injury. He's healthy. We can get rid of him now without having the injury settlement or anything like that.
You got to make room for Sexton. Also, guys, I told Mike the first day I came back from camp, I said, Mike, this is going to sound crazy. They got this little munchkin out of Michigan. He's about 5'2", but he's got feet on him. And now
Sexton will be a practice squad guy.
Yeah.
He'll be a practice squad guy. They still have Ray McLeod. They're going to keep him. Sexton, he did make a nice return the other night, but I will say, he made a poor decision, and he almost got tackled inside the 5 or 10 yard line, and he was able to turn the speed on. But again, it was against Detroit's second, third teamers out there. So you don't want him making. Again, he was able to use his speed, but live game action, preseason, it's a regular season, the speed goes up, and so he'll be around for the practice squad. Though,
Mike, almost only counts in hand grenades and ex-fiancés, buddy.
So we have one last preseason game next Friday. No regulars are going to play, I'm sure. So anything that you think they'll try to determine from that game, or are we looking at just showcasing people that maybe somebody else might want to move? Maybe it's the punter or something like that.
I think
go
ahead, Mike.
Go ahead.
It's a secondary.
You'll see
some
secondary.
The secondary.
You'll see Mason Rudolph get some good playing time. You'll see Haskins get some good playing time, and then you'll see Dobbs probably finish out the entire second half and maybe give him an opportunity to showcase some talents and maybe try to move him again the way they did last season, right at the end, to Jacksonville.
All right, that's about all the time we have, fellas. Where can our listeners find you guys if they want to search out your wit and repartee out there in the Berg?
Hey, go to PittsburghSportsTalk.org, PittsburghSportsTalk.org, or check us out on Facebook at Steelers Chalk Talk. And by the way, Andy, anybody that goes to Steelers Chalk Talk on Facebook and likes us, at the end of the year, Mike and I are going to give away a Jack Lambert jersey to somebody that likes us.
Very nice. I'll like you.
That makes you eligible.
I met him a couple.
Randy will give you the Gary Busey flowers.
I met him a couple times. I have like an oversized autograph framed picture of him when he was on the Sports Illustrated cover, that iconic picture with the no teeth and stuff. And he was just a humble guy, not very outgoing and personable, but my kind of guy, just in the zone and loves Pittsburgh and doesn't play into the nonsense. So the couple times I met him, it was a pleasure talking to him.
Oh, he is Pittsburgh. Him, this franchise, Mike Webster, Jack Lambert, that's what Pittsburgh's about. And
that's the identity of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
When you think of them.
And I like this team this year. Again, I think this team's going to shock a lot of people, man. And that mentality, it carries you a long way. And you get a couple wins under your belt when people don't think. I really think this team's going to shock some people this year, guys.
Well, I hope you're right. It was great talking to you. That's my friends Tank and Mike McMahon with Steelers Chalk Talk. We're going to try to get them on every other week. So thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can we do pottery and kittens next time?
Sure. How about, like I said, some little Longenberger basket and maybe some Pampered Chef for you guys, too.
Take care of yourself, boys.
All righty. See ya.
Bye.